So hello class again, and welcome to this particular video, and in here we're going to continue from where we stopped, involving how to determine unknown variables in word problems. And in here we're going to look at case 2, which involves consecutive numbers. And what do we mean by consecutive numbers? If you look at a number line, there is a specific sequence that occurs, which is +1 from the previous number. So if you have 1 is the first number, which means that if I add 1, it means that you get 2, which is the next number relative to 1. And if you add another 1, is equal to 3, which is a sequence. Here we have consecutive numbers, and they appear in that particular sequence of +1. So we're going to apply this strategy in determining 3 consecutive numbers, and we notice that the sum of these 3 consecutive numbers is equal to 105. So in here we're asked to find what are the 3 consecutive numbers. So in here what we need to realize is that first, sum means that if I add all 3 numbers together, the number will be equal to, the numbers addition will be equal to 105. So let's follow this particular problem solving strategy. Grasp we know is equal to the given, R is required, A is analysis, S is solve, and P is paraphrase. So let's start first with the givens, looking at the question. Now you might notice that the question doesn't give you too much, but a lot of words, or the specific words, actually tells you a lot about a question. So look at the givens. We have the first number, and the first number we're going to represent it as a specific variable, because I like A, I'm going to pick A. And the second number, which you add to A, we're going to represent that as B. And the third number, we're going to represent that number as C, because the question says 3 consecutive numbers. So let's look at how we can actually write the second number and the third number in terms of A. So to write the second and the third number in terms of A, what we have to do is we add 1 to A. So if you add 1 to A, because A is the first number, and then if you go to the next number, you're adding 1. If you do for the third number based on A, it means that if you go to A, you must add 2. If you add 2, you're going to get the third number. So if you do for like the 10th number, it means that we're going to add A to 9. So add A plus 9, that will give you your 10th number. So imagine here, since you're given only 3 consecutive numbers, it means that we have to deal with only 3 numbers. And to deal with the 3 numbers, you're going to write the other numbers in terms of the original or the beginning number that you assign it to be. Take note that A could be any number. We don't know what it is yet, but to know what A is, we need to take into account the total, or the sum of all the numbers. And based on the question, it says that the sum of all the numbers is equal to 105. So in here, the question asks us, in terms of the required, is to determine the numbers, which is what is A, which we don't know, what is B, and what is C. So since we know the givens and we need to determine what the required is, then we can move into the analysis and actually break down the formula that is required in order for we to solve this problem. So in here, based on the question and the given, we actually know that to determine the sum, we're going to write it here, the sum of the first, second, and third, we know that this is equal to 105 based on the question, which means here that if we add A to B and add that to C, this is equal to 105. And since we know this particular fact, then we can actually perform our next step, which is to solve. And to solve here, what we do is that we put A is equal to A, B is equal to A plus 1, and C is equal to A plus 2 in equation 1, which is the analysis right here. So where I see B and C, I put A plus 1 and A plus 2 respectively. So therefore, what we have here is we're going to rewrite our analysis. A plus B plus C is equal to 105, which means that A plus, where I see B, I put A plus 1, and this is plus C, where I see C, I put A plus 2, and this here is equal to 105. So once we have that, then we can solve, which means if you open the bracket, it means that A plus times A gives us A, plus times positive 1 gives us positive 1, plus times A gives us positive A, positive times positive 2 gives us plus 2, and this here is equal to 105. So therefore, in here you see that on the left side we have A's that are like terms, and that is convenient because we want to keep A's on one side and anything else on the other side. So in here, first step is to collect like terms. A plus A plus A gives us 3A, and on the left side we have constants. Plus 1 plus 2 gives us positive 3, and this here is equal to 105. And what we do next is to move our positive 3 on the left side over to the right side, which means that you're subtracting both sides by 3. Therefore 3A is equal to 105 minus 3, and therefore 3A is equal to 105 minus 3, which gives us 102. And our next step is to determine what A is, which is to divide both sides by 3. Therefore 3A is equal to 102 divided by 3 divided by 3, and what we get here is A to be equal to 34. So A has to be equal to 34, which is our first number. Therefore, in our for we to get B, we add A, which is 34 to 1, and that gives us 35, which is the second number. And C, we add A to 2, which means 34 plus 2, which gives us 36. So in here, therefore, if you paraphrase this particular solution, paraphrase the solution, what we have is the consecutive numbers that sum up to be 105 are 34, 35, and 36. So that is about it for this particular question. So in this question here, you need to be aware that if I'm given any x number of consecutive numbers and we know the sum, all you have to do is to highlight the first number as a specific variable, and then every consecutive number that you're following in terms of adding 1, you go based off the first number, and by that way you can actually substitute in your analysis equation, and by solving you'll be able to determine what the first number is, and based off the first number you can get back the other numbers that we give it this sum to be relative to or equal to the question given. So that's it for dealing with consecutive numbers, and the next one is dealing with age gap. And in this question here, if you're given the sum of two age students or people or persons here, in this case we have Lisa's age and we have Ellen's age to be equal to 41, and in here you have the condition, or we have the future date, that 5 years from now the sum of their ages will be 3 times the present age of a specific person, which is Lisa. Now the question asks you to find the age of Lisa's presently, I'll put it that way. So in here what we have to take note of is we have to take note of two things. We have to take note of the present and we have to take note of the future. And dealing with these two will actually give us a little grasp or give us a grasp, or I'll say, on how to actually approach this particular problem. So we have to look at the present, and looking at the givens based on the present, we know that we're dealing with two individuals, which is Lisa's age and the other age is Ellen's age, and we have the total age, which is actually given in the question. So in here for the present, we know that Lisa's age, since we don't know what it is, we're going to represent that as A, and Ellen's age, it could be the same or different, but we don't know, but we're just going to put it as B. So in here we know that the total of that age, A plus B, is equal to 41 based on the question here, the sum. So if it's sum, you're adding A and B to give you 41. But now in the future, 5 years later, what this means is that their age is going to increase 5. So 5 plus the present age will give us the future age of Lisa, and that of Ellen, it is 5 plus the present age. So if you have this is equal to 3 times the present age, which is represented as A of Lisa, which is right there. So 3 times A is actually equal to 3A. So Lisa's age is 3A 5 years later. So what we have to do now is, that is for the total age. So the total age here is equal to 3 times Lisa's present age, which is that right there. So now the question is asking, in terms of the required, what is Lisa's age, which is the present age represented as A. So what is A? We don't know what A is. So in here, going into the analysis, what we have to do is to derive two equations. One equation dealing with present right here, and the other equation dealing with the future. So let's say present equation is the sum of their age, A plus B, which is equal to 41, and the future, which is 5 years later, we actually have Lisa age A plus 5 plus Ellen's age B plus 5, and this is equal to the total age, which is 3 times Lisa's present age, which is 3A. So since we have the analysis taken care of based on the givens, then we have to solve. So in here we're going to label this as equation 1 and this here as equation 2. So for the solution to this particular question, what we have to do is to perform systems of equation. So one way is by substitution and the other way is by elimination. So in here we're just going to pick 1, and we're going to substitute it for the equation number 2. So let's start off with picking question or equation 1, which is the present equation. And once you pick that equation, we're going to solve for b. And why were we solving for b? The reason why we're solving for b is to be able to put b in equation 2 in order for we to solve for a, which is the required. So to solve for b in equation 1, we know that equation 1 is a plus b is equal to 41. Therefore, to solve for b, you're going to move a to the other side. So positive a becomes negative a, which means you have 41 minus a. And once you have this, which is now our equation 3 based on equation 1, we're going to pick that, solve for b, and then put equation 3 in equation 2. That is the plan. So the plan is to be able to put our b in equation 2, which is this future equation. And what we have is, once we have our future equation, a plus 5 plus b plus 5 is equal to 3a. First off, let's solve our equation 2. So this here is equation 2. Solve this equation 2 in order for we to have a simple or simplified version. It means here that a plus b, 5 plus 5 gives us 10, is equal to 3a. So therefore, since we've simplified the left side of the equation, we put our b in this particular equation 3 in this particular equation right here. So where I see b, I put in 4a1 minus a. Therefore, a plus where I see b, I put 41 minus a. And this here is plus 10. Bring that down, and that is equal to 3a. So in here we have a plus 41 minus a plus 10 is equal to 3a. So in here we have a minus a, which gives us 0, which means that we'll simplify this left side of the equation to be positive 41 plus 10 is equal to 3a. So once we have this taken care of, when we actually evaluated the left side, what we're going to do is to add 41 to 10, and that gives us 51 is equal to 3a. And then the next step is to divide both sides by 3 because we want to solve for a. So as a result, 3a is equal to 51. So divide both sides by 3, and what we're left with for a is equal to 17. So we know that in the question here above, we know that a is equal to Lisa's present age. Therefore, in this particular question, we are able to determine what a is. So if you paraphrase our solution, what we determined is that Lisa's present age will be 17. And if Lisa's present age is 17 years, we can actually determine what Ellen's age is by subtracting 17 from 41 based on the present age. And if you want to find the future age, you can also sub in your A and B answers, and you can find the total age of their future, which is 5 years from now. So that's about it for this particular analysis and also problem solving skills involving determine the age of various persons when given a specific age gap, and also the total of their age to or relative to their future, and also being able to determine consecutive numbers when given the total or the sum of the numbers or the unknown numbers in this particular question right here. So thanks for following me through this. Truly appreciate it. Please answer the following questions when you have paraspace, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me either by email or through Google Meet. All the same, stay smart and believe in yourselves.